Good morning, everybody. Please make sure to say good morning in the chat. Make sure it's a recognizable name. You should hopefully be logged in as your school account. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Let's just check my settings here. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, it looks all right. Hair looks awful, but please type in the chat to say good morning. I see 9 concurrent viewers on my list, but I see no information in the chat. Please find the chat and type good morning. You see down the side on my screen there where I'm typing it in? That is where you need to find. There we go. All right. Good morning, Brooke. Good morning, Regan. Good morning, Marley. Charlie, good morning. Ronak, good morning. All right, we'll just give it a couple minutes, make sure everybody can find their way in. If somebody could offer me feedback on my volume. Good morning, Bailey. Hopefully everybody can hear me well enough. I'm just using the microphone on the laptop. I didn't get my secondary microphone out, so hopefully it works okay. Hopefully the picture is coming in well. The best way to judge whether or not your picture is coming in well is whether or not you can see the little fire embers behind the graphics on the screen. If they're flowing smoothly, that means that you're getting a decent bit rate. If they're kind of stuttered or laggy, then that probably means that the internet connection isn't nearly as good. Good morning, Sienna. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Jordan. Good morning, Miguel. Grace, good morning. So just while we're waiting for people to hopefully make it to the stream, we've got about half the class here so far. I have been working through the work submitted. So far, I'm pretty pleased. If you haven't submitted the sheets from yesterday, please do so. Okay. The YouTube stream does not generate a list of accounts that have attended this, so I really do need you to quickly type into the chat and say good morning, say hello. Okay, if you haven't yet said hello in the chat, please do so. We're up to 18 viewers now, so hopefully we're going to have everybody here shortly. Obviously, I will not just sit here and wait until we get to 23 to start. I will give up here eventually. But if you do arrive late to a live stream, again, please just make sure that there's evidence in the chat. Good morning, Morgan. Just make sure that there's a note in the chat to say that you were here, and that way I can mark your attendance appropriately. Okay? All right, let's put that up there again. Okay. So hopefully everybody is working out their the kinks on all of this. And obviously, if you're unable to make the live stream as it's happening, what's more important is that at least you send me an SB message and you say, hey, I watched the live stream late, or I'm not going to be able to do it till later, just as an opportunity to do that. I appreciate some people sending me messages like, hey, I woke up on time, isn't that amazing, and things like that. it just helps me keep everybody accountable and everybody going in the right direction, okay? So please, 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 please do so, okay? I'm just noticing that I'm getting a whole lot of Edsby messages right now, so I wonder if people are having technical difficulties. So let me just quickly check here on my other computer here. Oh, see? Like, for example, somebody who can't figure out how to message in the YouTube chat. All right, I got you. Okay. So those of you who are messaging me saying I'm on the stream, but I can't type because I don't have an account, your school account, like the same one you use into the Google Classroom, will work as a YouTube account as well. So if you try to log in as that account, it should take. Okay. Good morning, Cameron. All right, very good. All right, I'm just checking all of these messages just to make sure I'm catching you. I've got my second computer beside me. So, okay. All right, just double checking here. All right, cool. All right, so I'm just going to get started here. So I was going through the work submitted yesterday. It looked like most people were able to submit the advanced sentence correction and the I am poetry. If you haven't yet put that information in, please do so. There was only one or two people that haven't put in the I am poetry, and there was a couple of people that I was having a hard time connecting the work submitted to your actual Google Classroom stuff. So, for example, if you just share the file with me directly and you hit turn it in on the Google Classroom, please make sure to put like a private comment or something like that to say like, I shared this here, I shared this there. I am obviously going to write back and just say like, I can't find this. I'm not assuming that, anything nefarious is going on or anything. So just I understand it's a process and distance learning is, has its pitfalls. And so we'll have to figure out those things as they come. Okay. But just know that even if you hit something late, it doesn't really matter. What's more important is that you're giving me evidence and you're giving me information about whether or not you can complete a skill, because I'm trying to pare down the class as much as I can so that we're basically just hitting those benchmarks, seeing if you've got the skill, if you need to work on it, giving you some opportunity to work on it. And if you've got the skill in the bag, then great. Then I'm just going to mark it as done and give you a full mark on it, and we're going to move on, because the reality is that distance learning is not great for English class, in my opinion. There's something about that classroom, and I don't know if any of you had friends that were in my grade 9 class last quad. We had a great time. We were joking and laughing and just generally chewing through work and just having a generally good time. And I really wish from the bottom of my heart that we could have that experience together at Clarington Central in my classroom right now. Oh, thank you for the heads up, Bailey. I will mark him as present. Thank you for the heads up. Okay. So overall, um, the most important thing to remember is that all the work will come live at 8 a.m. And then you are responsible for that work. Some of it will be marked as not due until Friday or not due until Thursday or so on. And some of it, if it doesn't have a due date, assume that that work is due the day that it is assigned. So we're going to uh, go through the classroom right now. I apologize if my stream is a little bit laggy at certain spots. Unfortunately, right now, there are 5 people in my house right now, all doing live streams at the same time. So we need to deal with the realities of limited bandwidth, okay? So let's go into the classroom. Okay, so just as a warning, when I am looking at the actual classroom itself, I cannot see the chat. That's temporary, right? Obviously, if you have any questions, just leave them there and I will pop back up as soon as I can, okay? And I will pop over and answer any questions. Okay, so looking at the class work, if it will load. It's going nice and slow. All right, just be patient for a second. while it loads. There we go. Okay, so scrolling down first, as you can see, yesterday's work has 2 items in it, right? The advanced sentence correction. There's a couple of people that have yet to finish the work that has been assigned. And there's also the I am poetry, which has one person that has yet to submit it. So please go back and take a look at the yesterday's work just to make sure that everything is good. I'm not marking the advanced sentence correction with great specific detail. I'm basically just jumping around and looking for evidence points throughout it just to make sure that you've got a good sense of the skill. And if you do, then I'm giving you full marks. Okay, it is basically just a bench, a bottom, a baseline from a place to start. Sentences are the building blocks of everything that we do in English. And so that's where I wanted to start with that. The I am poetry, obviously, I'm not marking you closely on it in terms of, judging who you are as a person or anything like that, right? It's just mainly about, are you able to follow instructions and complete it? And everybody who submitted it, I was all good with it. Okay. All right, so for today's work, as you can see, there's other stuff that's coming. The grayed out stuff is the stuff that will be scheduled for tomorrow. Okay, for today, we have these bolded ones first. So looking at the grammar sheets first, okay, here's the important thing to recognize with this, okay? Attached is the balance of the week's work for grammar and short writing. Please complete 1 to 2 a day and submit all by Friday. So if you're somebody who just wants to knock it out of the park and just chew through all of them and never have to look at it again for the rest of the week, then do it and hit submit and be done with all of them. Okay. So the goal is to do 1 to 2 a day. So there are 8 of them here, and we have 4 days left to go. Some are shorter than others, right? Some of them are only 4 or 5 sentences on one page, and each one is focusing on a different skill. Okay. So you got adding details to sentences, call the sentence doctor, changing informal writing to formal writing, changing passive voices. You got a couple of correcting run-ons in a bit of a different way, showing not telling, and some sentence fragments. Okay, so these are sort of the fundamental pieces of writing that I feel that the grade 9 academic English student really needs to work on. And so I'm trying to get a baseline from each of you about whether or not these skills are already in your repertoire, or if it's something that we need to come back to and refocus on at different points. If you're somebody that needs to focus on it, it doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden going to be sending you lots of work on those things. Instead, as we move forward, those are the pieces that I'm going to be bringing up in your feedback in other writing that we do. Okay. So it's one of those things where it's just going to cue me into like, where's an area that I can help this kid get better, right? And so it's all reward, no harm in completing these, okay? So please spend some time, go through them all, 1 to 2 a day, 2 today, 2 tomorrow, 2 Thursday, 2 Friday, okay? Just popping over to the chat, seeing if there's any questions before I go any further. All right, seeing none. Okay. So the media study is a short task. Okay. You have a 6-minute Oscar-winning short film called Hair Love. It was also one of the films that we used for Black History Month at Clarington Central, which I was heavily involved in working on. And so I would like you to watch it, and I would like you to think about how not only is this an award-winning film for its lovely story and wonderful graphics and all that, but it's also an enriching presentation of a Black family experiencing a real life. Instead of interpreting and presenting Black families through stereotypes and other tropes that tend to exist in media a lot of the time. I'd like you to watch this film and then answer the following questions either in a comment, like in the private comment, or just attach a Google document, okay? And each one of these, when I ask you a question like this, the expectation is that you're writing in full sentences. The expectation is that you're writing more than one or two words, like you're writing a couple of sentences, like a complete thought, okay? So question number one, did you like the movie? Why or why not? Every answer is fine as long as you explain your reason, okay? Question number two, this movie has no words in it. Did you miss them? Why do you think the words were not chosen for this story? Question number three, why do you think that this movie won awards? And question number four, what can we infer by the mother having no hair at the end of the story? Infer or inference is a skill in English that is heavily part of the curriculum. Inference is a way of using evidence and using sort of reading between the lines to make educational guesses. And so the film never says exactly why this character has no hair. But what can we infer by the other pieces of evidence that are there? And so inference is a skill that will always come up where, for example, if we're analyzing a character in a novel, it's never going to say, for example, in Little Brother, Marcus is smart, period. There's never going to be a sentence in that book that says that. But you can infer based on the descriptions that the author puts in, based on the actions of the character, based on how people relate to that character within the story, and based on other evidence in your own life experiences, you can come to an inference or an inferential guess as to whether or not Marcus is smart or not. And that is a literacy skill of a higher level that it will serve you well in detecting bias, will serve you well in coming up with essay topics and so on. And so you're going to see the word infer a lot in the work that I put forward. It's also a skill that gets tested on the standardized testing for literacy that everybody will have to write in grade 10. So what can we infer by the mother having no hair at the end of the story? There's multiple answers to that question. Okay? So please complete this today. This has no due date. Therefore, it is due the day it is assigned. Okay? Speaking of the literacy test, everybody in grade 10 in Ontario writes a standardized literacy test. Obviously, with COVID, it's gotten kind of messed up over the last couple of years, but it's not going away. It's run by the provincial government, by a group called EQAO, which I'm sure that everybody here has had some experience with in their elementary days. And it is a requirement for graduation. So the literacy test is written in grade 10. You are assessed on a number of different skills, and it is administered by staff in your school, but it is not marked by us, and we're not allowed to help. But we are allowed to help prepare you. And so I would like to give you some exposure therapy to this for purposes of getting used to it. Okay? So as this thing notes, everyone must take the literacy test to graduate high school with a diploma. There is a practice test I'd like us to try out below. Send me an Etsy message with your results or leave a private comment here. What part was the hardest? Okay? So do not feel you have to do the written answers today. We will go over the format of that part of the test later in the course. So what I'd like you to do is to go through this practice test. There's no account login. It's not going to save your results many times as you want. But I'd just like you to go and get some exposure to it, try out a few questions, and mainly focus on the multiple choice, and give me some honest feedback about how it went for you, either in an Edsby message or in a comment. You can take some screenshots if you want and attach them, but most important is just to give yourself some exposure therapy. And I'm not going to watch over your shoulder. If you just send me an Edsby message and you just say, yeah, I did it, it went fine, but you didn't actually do it, how am I going to know? You need to take responsibility and know that it's for your benefit to get some exposure to it. Okay? And not only that, but it's actually not a very hard ask for a distance learning day, okay? In the reality, the test itself, if you're doing all the long written answers and all that sort of stuff, will take about half a day to complete. If you have an IEP that allows you for extra time, you would get the full day. But in asking you to only do the multiple choice, it's definitely not that long of a thing. You can just simply not fill in the written parts and just skip through them if you wish. Okay? You can try them out now if you want, but I am going to test you on and teach you how to do the stuff in a proper way. Okay? So, any questions about the media or the literacy test before I go further? Okay, seeing none, we've got two other things to look at. We have chapter questions and we have summaries. Okay, so looking at the chapter questions first. Okay, so it's real simple instructions. See attached, don't worry about the group work portion. Okay, so don't worry about the group work part. Okay, so every day that we're working on Little Brother, there's going to be some secondary work that will come out. And I'm going to go over the Little Brother introduction stuff here in a second, but I want to show you the work first. Okay, so clicking on the PDF, hopefully it will pop up. Okay, so Little Brother work is certainly not super intense in terms of your first couple of days. So these are your first initial prompts for the first two chapters of the book. What does it mean if you have a right to something? What is privacy? When do you have a right to privacy? Why is privacy important? Would you ever give up your right to privacy? Okay, so these are leading sort of pre-reading type questions to make you think about the biggest themes or topics of interest that the writer, Cory Doctorow, had in mind when he was writing this story. So these questions, as you can tell, have absolutely nothing to do with telling the story of Marcus, the main character of Little Brother. This is about you. So fill them out. Again, if it's asking you questions, expectation of full sentences, full thoughts, 3 or 4 sentences, especially for number 2, a couple, maybe a little bit less for 1 and 3. Okay. For summaries, this is your accountability for completing the actual reading portions of the book. Okay, you have a Microsoft Word document version of the book. You have an audio version of the book. There's no reason why you can't complete the reading of this book right on schedule. Okay, as long as you prioritize it. All right, so Little Brother chapter summaries and reading schedule. So first 2 chapters are today, expected to be completed today. And once you are done doing the reading for the day, you will do a summary of each chapter. Okay? So do not retell what happens in the chapter. So this should not all be narrative retelling. Identify the most important elements of the story. We are introduced to the character of blank. The biggest plot point in this section was blank. The circumstances have changed. There were conflicts. The setting changed. The tension was high. Emotional weight. Things like that. The most important thing to remember in the summaries is that writing a summary is a skill that we are trying to teach you how to do. So, the first couple of times that you're doing these chapter question summaries, you may feel like you're not sure what you're doing. That's okay. Completion mark at least for the first 2 or 3 days. Feedback from me on how to improve it, how to change it, how to hit those baselines in terms of how to write a proper summary based on those prompts that are there. And then by chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 10, hopefully you've taken that feedback from me and you're able to do it for more of a mark based on whether or not you're hitting those baselines. Okay? And then hopefully by the time you get into chapters 10, 11, 12, 13, you're doing them with barely, having to think about it, and you're just getting perfect every time. That's the goal for me. So first few days is totally completion mark for opportunities for feedback from me, following those prompts that are up there. Okay. I will offer lots of feedback, so make sure that these are being uploaded to the Google Classroom as you complete them, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. So closing that. Okay. Any questions about the summary before I move on to introducing Little Brother to you? Okay. Hopefully the live stream is coming through well enough. Everybody can hear. If you're never attending live or you're unable to attend live, this video file will turn into a regular YouTube video the second I hit end stream at the same link that's located on the classroom. Okay. So if you ever need to go back and hear my words and understand exactly what happened, it's easy enough to do that. Okay. All right. So at the very top of this classroom, there is, as you can see, the novel study audiobook and the novel study book Little Brother are both right here. Okay, so that's where you would find. This is the Word document and PDF versions of the story. Okay, book proper starts on page 16, and this is the audiobook. Okay, there are some other audiobook versions out there on YouTube. If you would rather not hear the stilted, computerized voiced version that this is. Okay, the files are page by page, so it is a lot of clicking to go through it, but it is there. Okay, so looking at the introduction to Little Brother, okay, we're not going to go over the heroes and anti-heroes thing until tomorrow, but let's look at the introduction PowerPoint right now. Okay, so just want to make sure that this popped up okay. Just give me 1 second here. All right, looking good. All right, so as I mentioned yesterday, Little Brother is a reference, as the name of the book is a reference to a novel written in the 1940s called 1984. 1984 is by George Orwell, and it is the story of a future world with the main character named Winston, which you will see in the story of Little Brother as well, who is living in a society where the government controls everything, including changing history books, manipulating the news so that certain events are never reported on and nobody ever finds out about them. No ability to choose what you wear, who you associate with. Oops, sorry, I clicked out of my thing here. Who you associate with. It is the most extreme version of government control that is out there. And the symbol for this government is this giant face that is appearing on all television screens, posters, and everything. And it's called Big Brother. And Big Brother is always watching. That's what it's referred to. And of course, there's a reality show called Big Brother also that some people around here may watch, where you live in a house where cameras watch you all the time. And so this is Little Brother. So this is a story that takes place in a fairly modern time. It's a little dated now with some of the technological references, but it's pretty close to the modern time in California, in San Francisco. In a version of California where the government control is going up and up and up and up and up because of problems in society. And so our main character, Marcus, is somebody who is unhappy with this, and he is choosing to push forward with his take on the world and how to deal with how and how he feels about the government, and as a young person, standing up for their right to privacy and control and so on. So Cory Doctorow, who is the author of this book, is an activist in this area. He has a lot of opinions. We're going to be watching speeches of his where he speaks about the problems around technology and access to people's privacy that companies and governments may be abusing. And so it's a very accessible book on a political issue that I think matters something to you. I know that it creeps me out every time that Instagram or Facebook starts advertising things to me that I know I haven't Google searched yet. I've spoken about them out loud, and yet somehow my phone has interpreted that I'm interested in this or that. Surveillance capitalism, as they call it. So it is the reality of our world that we live in, and it is something that I want you guys to think about. Okay? So, scrolling down, what's in a name? The title of Little Brother is in reference to the popular cultural idea of Big Brother. Big Brother is a term that was coined around the time of the Second World War by George Orwell. Orwell went on to write a novel called 1984 where Big Brother is a central character. It's not a real person, it's more of an idea of always being watched by the government. Okay? Big Brother refers to the way in which some forms of government abuse their power. There is a particular emphasis on the practice of surveillance and the way in which the general public is constantly surveilled, that means watched, by its government. In 1984, George Orwell constructed a government figure known as Big Brother. The slogan of Big Brother in the novel sums it up. Big Brother reminded its people that Big Brother is always watching. Okay? And so that is from the film version, which, to be honest, is not all that good. But that is Big Brother. So that face is everywhere. It's on television screens. It's on posters. It's everywhere. And the belief is that every single monitor in the Big Brother world has a two-way microphone where people can listen in to what you're thinking. So even if you're talking to yourself, you're not actually by yourself. Okay? So in 1984, Big Brother controlled what you did, the way you thought, as well as the people you hung out with. You had to speak in the language they told you to speak, and you had to dress the way they told you to dress. Physical contact, intimacy with other was forbidden, as was having fun. Okay? So what does this mean for our novel, Little Brother? Okay, the author of Little Brother, Cory Doctorow, is very much aware of what he is doing in this novel. The title is a reference to Big Brother. The characteristics of the totalitarian government, that means the word total is in there, that means all control. And the way that the government abused their positions of authority to try to perform surveillance, as well as control the actions of people. Okay? This is not just an idea present in fiction. Think about everything where you go. There's constant surveillance right now, as well as acceptable actions and behaviors in each one of those places. If you go onto public transit, Clarington Central has cameras, and so on. Okay? So, while you're reading Little Brother, think about where you're seeing surveillance, where you're seeing government control, and think about why it's called Little Brother rather than Big Brother, other than a copyright issue. Okay? So today, you'll start the novel. You'll meet Marcus, the main character. You'll work on your chapter questions. You'll work on your summaries. You'll try out the literacy test. You'll do the hair love task. And hopefully you'll do at least 2 grammar sheets. Okay? Any questions about how this is going to work? If seeing no questions, I will hang out on the live stream here for a couple minutes in case any questions pop up. Otherwise, Google Meet will be at 2 o'clock, same place that you can find it before. And overall, I look forward to hearing from you and seeing work from you, and be prepared for some feedback on how to continue to get better. I appreciate all of you. I thank you very much for tolerating my few minutes of delay when I was having technical issues. It was not allowing me to put my web page behind my camera, and I couldn't figure out how to get it fixed, but thankfully we got it fixed. Okay? So if anybody has not yet said hello in chat for purposes of attendance, please do so. Otherwise, I'll say adios until next time, until 2 o'clock, when I'll see you on the YouTube stream, on the Google Meet, for purposes of just summing up the day. Okay? Send me an Edsby message anytime. I'll respond as quick as I can. Okay? Otherwise, see you later. All right. Just going to do the attendance here while we're summing up. Bye, Grace. Bye, Regan. Thank you for your good manners. All right, got my attendance recorded, so I'm going to end the stream, seeing no more questions. We'll see you at 2 o'clock.